Welcome, Mama Spooky Bear Tracy. Welcome. I like it, Mama Bear. I like it. Hey, Frankie, welcome. It is Halloween. Welcome. Just wanted to pop in and say hi. It's Logan's birthday, and of course, Halloween. We're leaving in half an hour. No problem. Today's my husband's birthday. So, yeah, my husband and my brother-in-law's birthday, born 11 years apart. Hey, Bobby, welcome. Welcome. Minnesota, welcome. And like my new format, I'm going to let the entire song play, and I'm going to take you guys out with a different song. Thought I'd change it up a bit. Hey, Power Girl, welcome. And again, anyone over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, wherever, welcome. Okay, and we'll stop the music there. And as usual, people will just pop in. So today I'm going to get a little heavy. This is not like Thursday's show. Okay, Thursday's show. Thursday's our fun show. And I did have fun Thursday. Thursday was a really good topic that pivoted here and there. But today we're going to get serious. So today I want to talk about saying the quiet part. Saying the quiet part out loud. And the quiet part is outing fear of change. And there's a lot that's been going on in the world in the last couple of years. Just a lot going on. And when I say saying the quiet part out loud, for some of you who have been on my podcast or know me personally, you guys know that I am willing to talk about anything. I think that you should talk about things because not to get into arguments or fights or whatever, but just to discuss them. If you disagree, you disagree. If you don't, you don't. But there's a lot of things that's been going on lately, and a lot of it is out of fear. People don't want change. When you see things that have been happening that has been status quo, and this is just my opinion, guys, I'm not endorsing anyone, I'm not, sticking up for anyone, whatever, this is my own personal opinion. When things have been status quo for a while, people get used to it. But then when something comes along to rock the boat, no matter what it is, people get nervous. And people start saying things where, again, my opinion, where people start to fear things. And one thing that I think that this country is doing is we're fearing a lot of things, to the point where, we're hurting people. We've been hurting people. People have been getting hurt in this country for years and 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 years, in my opinion, because of fear. You guys can disagree with me, you can agree with me, but where does it stop? Do we keep doing things that will perpetuate the fear? I'm talking about in terms of our actions, just in terms of the way we treat other people, the things that we say, the things that we do. But again, I am saying the quiet part out loud. I am going to say what people are probably saying behind closed doors. People will say a lot of things on social media when they don't have to face anyone, face to face. People are real good on saying things about people, but when it comes to actually doing something, they don't want to do it. I don't know how many times I've heard people complain, about certain things, and I say, well, why don't you run for office? Oh, well, no, whatever. Or, I don't like the way that the teacher's doing this, or, my friend, she's doing this, and why did she do this? Well, why don't you tell her? Or why don't you tell them? Oh, well, oh, no. Well, they're standing right there in front of you. Why don't you say, oh, no? Then they don't say anything. And I think social media has allowed society to say whatever the hell they want, and no one seems to be accountable. No one seems to be accountable for the things that they say, because they're hiding behind this iPad or computer, whatever. Brina, hey, welcome. So I'm saying the quiet part out loud. I'm going to say what a lot of people don't want to say, and over the years I've gotten into trouble for it. I mean, I had someone who got on me so hard a couple of months ago over something that I didn't think that I did. To this day, I still don't. But the hypocrisy of it all, when we fuss at other people and we say things about other people, all of us, me, you, everyone, we have to look within ourselves to see, well, we're talking about this person, but are we doing the same thing? Are we acting the same way? What do our actions show? So, don't tell me that there are more important things to worry about in this world, and maybe I should worry about the homeless. Well, I do worry about the homeless. I worry about a lot of people, and I practice what I preach. But do other people? So, hey, Blunt, Ninja, and Shorty, hey. So again, this show is, like I said, is going to be a deep show. But just what has happened over the weekend, and just what has been happening in this country, it to me, it is sickening. It is sickening. No matter what side of the aisle you fall on, no matter if you're a political party, if you're a cat lover, dog lover, if like purple over green or whatever, we need to figure out how we're going to get back on track, because in my opinion, we're out of control, and a lot of that control that we're losing is out of fear. People don't want change. They don't like change, or they're afraid, of if we allow this, then oh my God, what is going to happen? Things cannot stay status quo forever. Things evolve. We evolve in our lives. If you're in a relationship, they evolve. Everything evolves. Shows evolve. A friend of mine who we were talking about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills yesterday, and we're on two different teams. And we were like, this season was just a train wreck. They need a new cast. Things do evolve. Do you change things up to make things better? So that's I'm sorry, I just hit the microphone. So that's what I have to say. So if anybody wants to jump on or push back on me or tell me I'm talking crazy, and crazy lady, welcome. I'm sorry, I did not formally welcome you. So welcome. So do you guys think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm talking out of my rear? I mean, I would like to know what you guys think. Anybody? And I thank everyone for liking the show. And see, everyone is saying hello to each other. Okay, that's cool. So anybody? Anybody? When I get my more serious shows, nobody wants to say anything, but that's cool. That's cool. But I would like to know, do you think, do you guys think that people fear change? Okay, Mama Bear says yes, and Blunt says yes. Crazy Lady says God yes. But is it Bobby is yes, Shorty's yes. But is it because you're afraid or they're afraid or whomever is afraid of their way of life is going to change, or they think that their way of life is going to change? And a couple weeks ago I did a show on book banning. Well, having this particular book over that particular book in the school library, is that really going to hurt someone? Is the whole world going to fall apart? Everyone's talking about freedom and democracy and things like that. Don't we still have free will? We can choose not to read this book. We can choose not to have our kid participate in this class. If you don't want to, if your friends are going to the movies and you don't want to see a particular movie, you can choose to stay home. Don't we still have choices? Brina says, yes, people getting into their comfort zone, and humans are creatures of habit. Yes, they are. Some people think so. Crazy Lady says, yes. And Crazy Lady says, for some, change is scary because it's a change of their lives. And Bobby says, we all have choices. But Crazy Lady, is it really a change of your life? When you think about it, yes, we have laws that could change your life. Yes, things happen that do change your life. But for some of the things that we argue over and we fight over, are they really life-changing circumstances? And again, I go back to books. Is it a life-changing circumstance if you allow this particular book to be read, or you don't allow this particular book? Because if we conduct ourselves over fear, what's going to come next? We're already burning. We're already banning books. Are we going to be burning them next? What are we doing? Hey, Crazy Lady, welcome. Daniel, welcome.
You say, like, can one book make a difference? Well, yeah, in a way it can. I mean, look at the Bible. I mean, for like how many years that the common people weren't allowed to read the Bible.
Right, but what I'm saying, but I guess what I mean is, by allowing people to read the Bible, was the whole world going to blow up because you were allowing people to read the Bible? That is what I mean.
Well, no, I mean, the world's going to continue on, but for some people, I mean, it's like, oh my God, the world's going to end at any second because, something, is being done that they don't like being done.
So, okay, and then Bobby says, I don't read the Bible. No. So, and Crazy Lady, that's what I'm talking about. Bobby says he doesn't read the Bible. That's his choice. So shouldn't we, instead of fearing everything, we can choose not to participate in things. We can choose not to do things. So I just see that a lot of people are are living their life out of fear, as opposed to, instead of worrying about the person who's moving into your neighborhood and the person who's living next door, Crucible, welcome. Why don't we get to know the person next door? Why don't we get to know them? Just because they're wearing a I know I'm gonna pronounce this incorrectly. Just because they're wearing a hijab on their head, or they pray differently from us. Okay, so is your day not going to be the same just because the person next door to you is wearing a scarf around their head? So that's what I mean by, is one book going to change something? We have choices, and life still goes on. Welcome Solo, and welcome Juju. And Mama Bear says, I love the smell of books. So do I. Mama Bear, I love the smell of books when I go into the library and when I go into a bookstore, the bookstores that are still around. Let's see. Everyone's saying hello to each other. Hello. Okay, um, so Crazy Lady, let me ask you this: do you think that people are ever going to get over their fear of change?
Probably there's always going to be people that are going to fear, you know, stupid stuff instead of, because I think that's just human nature. I mean, I would love to think that, eventually people would, stop like fearing other people and, having all this division over the most stupidest stuff. You'd think that humankind would get to that point. But it
When
all starts with us,
Right,
us
so that's what I
individuals.
was going to say. So don't you think that we have to be the catalyst to stop that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But do you think that that's ever going to happen?
Well, I want to say it's happening now because, like, every person that makes a conscious choice to say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to be, open and, whatever.
Okay,
I like to think that it's in the change, but we can't see ourselves in the change because we are in the midst of us changing, I guess.
okay. So do you think that change will be all what's that word I want to use? Do you think change will slowly creep around the globe where it's a good thing, where people see that that person's not so bad? Just because they practice this religion, that's not so bad. Just because, we shouldn't assume that just because you're in a particular group that you are going to blow up an airplane, or you're going to rob a bank, or, you're going to, rob me if you're walking down the street. Are we ever going to get to the point where we don't look at different groups and
I
assume
want to say
certain things?
yes. I
Okay.
want to say absolutely, because I have faith in humankind.
Okay.
It hasn't been, drug out of me yet. So I think there's still hope, because I've changed. If
Okay.
I can change, anybody can change.
Okay.
Is my philosophy.
Okay. All right. You're more positive than me, because I'm, when it comes to human nature at this point. I mean, I will say I'm more of a cynic, because I see just a lot of things that are going on that are not nice. But then again, I see other good things that are going on that make me say, well, maybe you should change your mind about something. Then something will happen, like, oh, so I don't know. Do you think that people, and again, I say saying the quiet part out loud, that people will say things inside their homes or to other people, and when they have the choice to voice it, to say it, to possibly make that change, they don't do it? And why don't they do it? Why do you say, oh no, I'm not going to say anything, oh no, I'm not going to do it? But yet you go back home and you get on the phone with your friends and you talk about it, or you go to the barbershop and the guys are sitting around, you're talking about it in your little group, whatever. But when you have an opportunity to openly say it, you don't. Why do you think people don't say it out loud?
I think it's because they are scared of being different from others. You know, they don't want to be that odd man out in the crowd that stands up and says, "Hey, okay." It's like there's only one Martin Luther King. He was a person that probably. I mean, they killed him for his beliefs and stuff, and he stood up. There's going to be people that are going to be like, will stand out and say, "Hey, this is wrong" or whatever. But for the most part, yeah, people they tend to go like the herd of animals, like sheep. They just follow along because they don't want to, cause any, rifts or whatever.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was talking um, to someone the other day where I said I don't mind being that person. I will be that one person who will stand up. I will be that one person who raises their hand, or doesn't, whatever. I don't care if I'm the only one, because I'm not going to compromise myself or not do something that I don't want to do, just because um, everyone else isn't doing it or everyone else is. I mean, there have been many times when, I have been the only one raising my hand, the only one standing up. Um, I've gotten a reputation on a job that I had that was negative, but I was the only person standing up. But then I also noticed that people would say, "Hey, why don't you say whatever?" And it's like, well, why don't you say it? So I stopped being that person who, like, especially if I was, sticking up for myself or sticking up for uh, when my son was in regular school. Some of the, parents didn't like something that the principal was doing, and I would be that parent who was like, well, hey. Then I realized that, you only not going to say anything. I started going to the principal's office and speaking one-on-one for my own kid, and my son was able to do things that other kids weren't. And they were like, well, how come you're able to do it? And the principal said, well, she came in and she talked to me. And they were like, well, you couldn't talk for all of us? No, you speak up for your own kid. Was that wrong of me? I don't think so. I was the spokesperson for so long. Let someone else do it. Now I decided to speak up for myself. But Crazy Lady, I do believe that you're absolutely right, that people are afraid of being the only one raising their hand, the only one doing whatever, and they go along with the crowd. But are you happy? When you go along with the crowd, are you happy? Are you happy with the decision that you made just because everybody else was? Welcome, D, and welcome, YNB. Because I wonder, the people who are raising their hands, do you all really want to, or do they really want to raise their hands, or are they just doing it because they're looking around saying, well, those people over there about to raise their hands, so I'm gonna raise my hand too? I mean, then you have people who don't want to be the first one to raise their hand, or so I don't know. I just think that we need to stop saying the quiet part out loud and start speaking up. But that's just me. Okay, let me look at some of these comments. Let me see. Okay, Rena says, for some it will happen. You have to step outside of your comfort zone to grow. I agree. Rena also says it breaks down to personal preference in terms of changing. We are all in different stages. I agree with that. Black Ninja says, when things aren't going well in my life, I know it's time to make changes, whether it be a relationship, job, haircut. I agree with that. Juju says, agree with you, Brina. Thank you, everyone, for liking the show. Bobby says, to Black Ninja, relationship, I'm not sure, but having a job, that is important. You don't think, Bobby, you don't think that when a change is needed in a relationship or something, that you may not make the change in changing up the person you're with, but you don't think that maybe you need to look at the relationship and see how things can be done differently? Mama Bear, have a good day and happy birthday to your son. See, Blunt says, Bobby, if you're unhappy in a friendship or romantic relationship, you shouldn't stay. I agree with that. See, Bobby says, I don't need a haircut because I'm getting old. Okay. Not just old, just more distinguished. Yes.
You know, my dad used to tell me, he says, you know what, you have to stand up for yourself because no one's going to stand up for you. You know, no one
And
lives in your head but you.
believe that. I mean, I do believe that we have people who will stand up for it, is seemingly standing up for you, but no one can really stand up for you but you. So yes, I agree with that 100%. So okay, so then crazily, let me ask you this. So the people who don't say anything, the people who stay silent, should they blame you if, let's say, you go to the PTA meeting and you say everything that you want to say? Should they blame you if they say, well, crazy, how come you didn't bring up this? How come you didn't bring up this? I mean, because that's what I see. I see the people who are silent are still blaming other people because, well, you should have said this. Well, why didn't you do this?
Well, why didn't they? I
Exactly.
I've like if you well look at if you don't say anything, then you know what? Don't be blaming when things don't go your way.
Right, right,
No, when that one person that did stand up and say something and their voice got heard and things went their way and that isn't the way you wanted it, well then you know what? You should have said something at the time because check it out. You must have been okay with it because you just stood there like, a mouse.
right, right. So, and that's how I see a lot of things. If you're not going to say anything, then you must be okay with it. And if you don't say something when you have, and I have told a lot of my friends this, and people know I cannot stand it. If you're not going to say anything when you have the opportunity, don't complain to me or excuse my French, bitch and moan to me after the fact. If you want to go complain to somebody else, do it. But me, I don't want to hear. If we're in a group and someone that we both know is pissing you off, and they're there for you to take them to the side and say whatever, but you don't get in the car with me later on or call me later up and say, yeah, she's this. Well, you know what? She was there or he was there for you to say something. You didn't say it. I don't want to hear it. Bobby says to Blunt Ninja, in my previous relationship, I have been divorced like 7 years, so I'm not staying in my relationship. That is why I'm single forever. Minnesota, thank you for the gift. So, Bobby, see, Brenda says, oh, hell no, I don't allow anyone to make their problem mine. Exactly. That's exhausting. Yes, it is. It's very exhausting. So, Bobby, you're going to stay single because of a bad relationship. And when you say single, I mean, do you date? Do you go out, or you're just single? Okay, you do go out. So you're basing that your next relationship may be bad just because your other one didn't end well? And is that fair? And not necessarily fair to whomever could be going out with you, but are you being fair to yourself? I'm not fair to myself. So do you feel that you're missing out? Because I feel that people who, again, stay silent out of fear, or not necessarily fear, they just don't do certain things because of other things that have happened. um, you're shortchanging yourself, especially when it comes to relationships. Rena says, Bobby, I have to be good to yourself. Others pick up on that and may take advantage of you. That is true. That is true. Very true. So, I mean, do you guys basically agree with what I'm saying, or you think I'm being, I'm off, or Crucible?
Hello, Solid. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about why people don't like to do certain things. You've kind of touched on it already, and I don't want to spout a bunch of cliches here, but crazy lady touched on it. You touched on it when you were talking about walking across the street or the next door to your neighbors who dress differently and have a different culture. It really comes down to she mentioned it as well. Human nature, we like our comfort zones. Change is hard, as that's an obvious one. And I think we tend to take comfort in our stereotypes and what we think we know. And it's not just about other cultures or other people, it's about a lot of things. Comfort zones and stereotypes are kind of the same thing. And it takes a lot to joust us out of there. So I think when people contemplate change, and nobody likes it because it requires effort and it requires doing things differently. And if you wanted to do things differently, you would have been doing them differently all along. Change generally in people's lives only comes from they reach a point where they can't continue that way anymore. And usually it's things that affect their daily lives. Like maybe it's I hit the snooze too often and I'm late for work and I'm about to get fired. I eat too much, I need to lose weight. I drink or smoke too much, I need to do that. They take on the changes that are going to have an immediate effect, I think, on their daily lives. They can make a lot of excuses for not going across the talk to their neighbor. And it's not because they're inferior to them or they don't like the way they pray or they dress. They tell themselves it's not a germane issue to my life. Um, that's not going to move the needle in my life. I don't dislike those people, but I don't see how that's going to have an impact on my life. That's a change I don't want to make because I don't see the immediate results. Nothing tangible is going to come of it, in my view. So I think we're very selective in terms of what we decide to change. And I think most people prefer to stay right in their comfort zone. It's ironic that there's so much information out there today that we could find out about any single topic we wanted to, yet we choose not to. And I think there's an old saying out there that goes something like, people don't believe lies or mistruths or half truths because they have to. They do because they want to. So even though I may know that there's a source out there on the internet that I can verify this information and dissuade me of my beliefs, I choose not to do it because I don't want to know. If I find out for sure, I might have to change something. So I stay right where I am, and nothing is ever, amiss because no one's going to call me on it. Someone's going to call me on my weight gain if I drink too much, but no one's going to call me on the fact that I don't go across the street to speak to my neighbor who's of a different culture. So I think that's kind of some of the criteria we use to determine whether to change or not.
Well, thank you, Brina. Crucible, I understand what you're saying, but I also think that it's naive to think that people don't talk to their neighbors because of the way they look, because they are different. I think it is naive. I'm not saying that everyone does it. I'm not even saying that 20%, 10% of people do it. But I think that people do it. I think that when people move into a neighborhood that is different from you, that people are like, oh, well, oh. I mean, they do it. So you may not say anything out loud. You may not go over across the street to meet your neighbor. Hell, you could go across the street to meet them just to be nosy, whatever. But I think it's naive to think that people don't, that their antenna doesn't go up when someone is different from them. Welcome, David and Alpha Mike and Dose. Your formal welcome.
I agree with you because when I was growing up, we lived in an all white neighborhood, and at some point, an Arab family moved in across the street, and they were in the full garb, the hijab. I'm not sure what the terminology is, but they had all the traditional clothing and whatnot. And nobody from our family went over to speak to them. They seemed to be fairly, I'm not going to say isolated, but I don't recall other than other Arab families that would drive over to visit them. They were the only one in the neighborhood. I don't recall anybody going over there to talk to them. I don't recall any kind of, housewarming or anything like that. And we were a fairly close knit neighborhood. So that's a valid point. I can't tell you to this day why, at least why we were kind of kids or teenagers, so we wouldn't have done it. But my parents, nobody in our immediate circle did it either. So I think that's a fair
let me
point.
ask this: did that family have children?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you and your brothers and sisters couldn't have gone over to play with them or ask them. I mean,
They may have.
I'm just
I don't
saying,
remember.
in terms of putting it on the parents, the kids also. It's like, why are you
Well,
not saying something?
well, we spent a lot of time, playing baseball and running around that, and these kids were not, as I recall, my siblings may have gone over there. I can't remember, but they did not take very quickly or at all really to some of the American culture. They obviously were born in America, but they didn't like to play baseball. They didn't like to do a lot of the things that we as kids were doing. They seemed more focused on their customs and their culture and their tradition. So I don't want to blame them for that, but there was very little, if any, effort to assimilate. Now, I don't know who the burden is on when somebody different moves into a neighborhood. Is it up to the neighbors to assimilate them, or whether the assimilation process belong to the people who just moved in? It's probably a little of both, but I recall them being very much to themselves, and that may have given off a little bit of a "don't approach us" vibe. We're over here doing our own thing kind of thing. I can't say for sure. I don't want to just blame them because that's not fair. But I think the neighborhood kind of picked up on a cultural vibe that was sort of like, this probably isn't going to really work. And I'm sure some people next door, they had cordial conversations. I don't think we embraced them the way we embraced other people that moved in. Did we shun them? No. Did we embrace them? Definitely not.
Okay, and that brings up an interesting point, because again, the fear of change. Someone different is moving into your neighborhood. Someone different is now sitting in the cubicle, next to you at work. You know, someone who you know looks different from you is now your partner, whatever you are doing. You know, I think that mentally, for a lot of people, they may not have been shunned, but you're not approaching them because they are different. Even if they were, if in your situation, Crucible, even if they were someone who was keeping to themselves, I mean, I don't know how many times. Hey, Joe, welcome. I don't know how many times I have been places where I've been the only one, and I don't think I'm giving off a vibe or anything, because I think I'm a fairly outgoing person in terms of, hey, what's up? I mean, I will speak to anybody. But there are situations where I've been in. It's like, okay, you do what you're here to do, and that's it. Because the people around you are getting off this vibe like, what are you doing here? So again, it's that fear of someone different walking in, or a new thing that is happening, and or instead of doing it this way, we're going to do it this way. Well, wait. We're supposed to do it like this. We're supposed to do it like this. Well, no. Now something has happened to switch the things up. So how open are you, or are we? How open are we to accepting that change? How open are we to go and reach out that helping hand or whatever? And if that hand gets shunned, okay, then we know. But do you at least make the effort? Hey, Mr. A, welcome.
I think back when this was taking place, this was quite a long time ago, and I don't know specifically. I think we may have been in a little bit of a thing with Saudi Arabia. I don't know if it was an oil embargo or a gas thing or whatnot, but that particular ethnic group at the time, I think we were having some difficulties with their home country, and I'm not going to savage the generations back that I'm referring to, but there was a lot of I'm generalizing, so
Mm-hmm.
racial intolerance, a lot of bigotry, and again, it's not necessarily that it was an overt bigotry where people were throwing eggs at their house or doing anything like that. It was just a quiet disassociation. And so I don't want to blame external global factors on that particular thing, but I do know that people made a point of saying they got a lot of nerve moving into this neighborhood, given what they're trying to do to this country and oil prices and gas prices and whatnot. So that was a little bit of a driver of it, but I don't think it was the whole thing. But I think intolerance was just a little bit more. I'm not going to say necessarily accepted. It wasn't talked about. People were not necessarily punished for it. So I think it was a little bit easier to paper it over. It wasn't quite, and even with people did it, you talk about saying the quiet part out loud. Very few people are going to say, "Well, wait a minute, you don't even know these people. They just moved in just because they happen to come from a country that the United States is currently, bickering with over something. They don't have anything to do with that." I mean, and nobody did. Nobody stood up. And I remember our parents standing around the driveway having a casual conversation about, they shouldn't be in this neighborhood, not because of who they are, but because of what's going on in the world. And nobody stood up and said, "Hey, that's not right."
Okay,
So
but it also goes back to what Crazily was saying, is like no one wants to be that person that stood up. Maybe some people did want to say something, but everyone is looking around at their other neighbor going, "Well, if I say something, then they're going to jump on me and say, well, why this? Why that?" And then to say that nobody should belong anywhere. There's always going to be something that is going on in this world. And with the amount of people that we have in this country, with so many different ethnicities, religions, cultures, languages, the way we dress, the food we eat, I mean, there's always going to be someone different. And we saw it on 9/11. After that happened, anybody wearing a scarf on their head, especially if they were a woman, they were suspect. I was even, well, what do you have that scarf on for? Because I'm cold. Seriously. So it's like, who are we to say who belongs here and who doesn't, when we've all done stuff that's just as bad? So with that, Chill, you are welcome. And then anybody else wants to say something, you're more than welcome. Chill. Hey, Daddy Hoffa, welcome.
You ain't say hi to me like that.
I did say hi to you like that.
I don't believe so. Hey, y'all. What's
Hey,
happening,
hey,
everybody?
Chill. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, I don't know about the scarves on your head. I don't think they was talking about that. Yeah, I don't know about none of that, but I didn't wear scarves on my head. I wore do rags. They were standing away from my black ass a long time ago, before 9/11. But in general, I feel like you was speaking about in reference to, you kind of switched it up on me, so I'm a little bit confused. When you came to me, I wasn't really prepared because you kind of switched it up. The topic I thought was something different,
No, I
and
mean
then
it's
morphed into
no,
that.
it's no. Well, it's outing fear of change. So whatever you want to say, just go ahead and say it.
Yeah, got you. I thought, okay, cool. In general, people, I mean, that's the thing, right? People get scared now, or what they don't understand, right? So, of course, it's not going to be easy. You got to be a certain type of person to be ready just for change overnight. No one's gonna just be like, all right, hey, here's the change. Let me just adapt to it. Especially if you're comfortable within your realm. Or even sometimes if you're not comfortable, it may be the messenger or the person where it's coming from. You may know their intentions. You just might not like them, right? And so you're not gonna necessarily change, um, period, for anybody who comes in a culture. And I know you mentioned changing and somebody coming along and invoking change for good or bad reasons. It doesn't even matter. People are uncomfortable. People hate it. You know what I mean? I got to do something different, change my morning routine, or my breaks are shorter, or if it's inconveniencing me to some degree, people always fight back against change until they see the benefits of it, and then at that point, it's like, okay, well, or they just leave. So that's always that. But yeah.
Well, I mean, change though doesn't come overnight. It's not like you wake up one day and all of a sudden there's this huge change. Change is a lot of change that happens is a gradual thing that people see. It could be something that's gradually happening over years or whatever. But one day somebody may get on TV or get on a soapbox and make give a speech about it, and all of a sudden you're looking around going, well, wait, well, yeah, this, whatever. But change very rarely happens overnight. So do you disagree with that, Chill? Or
No, I disagree with that. I mean, some change, of course, change happens overnight, in a holistic sense, depending on what you're talking about. But overall, I think that bother us. I'm thinking about the things that like really invoke an emotional response are typically things that's drop at your doorstep. You know what I'm saying? Abortion overnight being passed, or or lack thereof being passed in one fell swoop, or
yeah,
like you said at your
even
job, or some type of
but
culture change.
all right, but
Like
even for
still.
even for something
Go
like
ahead.
abortion, that wasn't overnight. It's been talked about for years about overturning it. So when it happened, were people really
But it's
that
overnight though still.
But it's something that has been discussed. It's not like it was never talked about, and all of a sudden, they made the law and boom, it happened. This is something that has been
Who
on
was
the table.
discussing it?
People have been talking about overturning Roe for years.
Who was people?
The government, society, it has been talked about. It has been in the news. I mean, it has been talked about for years.
The argument of abortion, but overturning it, I'm not quite sure that the normal average person would know that.
Yeah, okay. I disagree, but okay. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, but I mean, in general, whether it's slow, like you can hear that you're about to get a new boss, or you can. How about this? You knew you was about to get fired the past year. When they fire your ass, that don't make it no difference. Don't make it. Are you prepared for it? You know what I'm saying? Are you? So I mean, typically change happens, and then you got to adjust to it. That ultimate change, you can hear it. You hearing something, and actual being in that situation is
but you had
completely different.
That it was going to happen.
That is what I'm right. Crazy. That's exactly what I'm saying.
But I don't get what's the significance in
I mean, it
going
like,
with it.
Like, okay, the sky is blue, and then like we wake up tomorrow and oh my god, the sky's like I don't know, purple.
I'd rather it be a surprise on my doorstep.
Purple sky.
But I'd rather be a surprise on my doorsteps at times for a certain change. I'd rather, so I mean, at the simplest form, somebody had about to punch in your fucking face and, have me be like, oh, wow, like, nah, I don't want that anticipation. Just do it. Get it over with. Don't tell me, I'm saying, like a shot. You know what I'm saying? Certain changes is, I'm okay, just hit me with it. I'd rather have it than you telling me like, all right, yeah, this is going to be this, and then move it back. And okay, you can get prepared, try to get prepared for it, but how prepared can you be?
But
how stressed can you be during that time?
Right, but you're not going to be. But it's not like you're being blindsided that I didn't tell you. And I'm gonna come back to that, Chill. But let me let me catch up on this for a minute. Alpha says people were hating on Asians because they think Asians were trying to kill us with COVID, yet we still eat Chinese food. Crazy Lady says we need to be like the flowers. You don't see roses fighting the daisies. Alpha says, crazy lady, that's because roses have thorns. They'll mess with those daisies. I'm trying to keep cursing off of my show, y'all. And crazy, see, they don't fight. Alpha says, don't get me started on the Venus flytrap. It will chomp your butts off. And crazy lady, I was talking about your in interrogation that people said that you interrogate people. No. Well, at first I was hurt by it, then I realized how a person could feel like that. Okay. So, I mean, Chill, when you said, okay, if you're warned about something, and Crucible, I'm going to use one of the conversations that we had. I'm one of those people where I tell people up front. I don't like this. I don't like this. I'm not going to do this. Don't ask me this, whatever. I'm somebody that if you ask me a question, I will give you a direct answer. I don't like beating around the bush. It's a waste of time. I don't like other people beating around the bush. And Crucible and I were talking about it one day, and he said, "But I didn't think that you actually meant it." Well, if I don't mean. I mean, I don't. If I don't mean something, I don't say it. So chill. And I say that to say for you, if somebody is warning you or saying this is going to happen, you're going to lose your job. We have a new boss, and within a year, you're going to lose your job. You better believe that me, I can't speak for other people, but for me, I'm going to start looking for another job or some other income because I know that somewhere down the pipe it is going to happen. So when it happens, yeah, will I be pissed? Probably, but you told me. So it's not like I'm going to be left out in the wind, not having any income, not knowing anywhere to go. If people say, if your landlord says, I am selling my house, you have to move in September and it's February, I'm not going to wait until August 15th to start packing up and looking for someplace else to live. You told me that you were selling the house in September and it's February. I'm going to start looking. But that's just me. So to say that, but to say that people are not, that people are caught by surprise, they aren't. You were told. You just chose not to listen.
No, I never said anything about being caught by surprise. I think that's a moot point when it comes to change, being caught by surprise or not. Like I said, sometimes being caught by surprise, you adapt a little bit better because of anticipation of somebody telling you something bad is about to happen. It's the stress. That's the stressful situation more than anything.
Right, but don't you think it
especially if you don't
also
know if they're telling the
prepares
truth or
you?
not.
But
especially, hold on. Especially if you don't know if they're telling the truth or not. Some people don't know if you're telling the truth, especially if you've been telling me that this change has been coming over time. So, for instance, like in the government sector, furlough. This people talk about furlough, people talk about layoffs, but they've been talking about that for the last 3 years. Like you said, they're talking about abortion for I don't know how long, but it hasn't came yet. So you don't know what's going to be there at foot. So that's stressful. Of course, can be try to prepare for a plan B, but you like your plan A, and just going through that process, just because you hear about it, don't make it any easier.
no, and
Sometimes it makes it harder.
and
Is
and
what I'm expressing.
and I understand that, but I'm saying, but let's take Roe. When Roe, people have been talking about it for years, and then when it was talked about that it was going to go before the court, I knew it was going to be overturned. There was no way that it wasn't. Okay. And I think a lot of other people did too. So were a lot of people surprised? No, I think a lot of people were pissed, but were they surprised? No, the element of surprise wasn't there because they knew that this was going to go up before the court. They knew it's been talked about for years, and they knew that there's a possibility it could go yay or nay. So either way, was it a surprise? No. I just think
I think I'm missing what I'm saying. I don't surprise elements have anything to do with change in reference to how you adapt to it, or if you like it, or if it hurts, or if it's better. I think it's can be worse. Your point is you're speaking against your point because I think it can be worse. The anticipation, the preparation, the fact that you can lose, that makes it stressful.
I think it can be worked depending upon how you look at it, how you process it. I think it can be worse.
Right, but in general, just going from one. Hey, you're my wife. I'm about to leave you. It's nothing about good. I don't want this to happen. I know it's about to happen, but that don't mean I'm comfortable with it happening. It's still gonna happen at one day. I knew this day was coming.
Right, but okay, you may not be comfortable with it. You may not like it, but like you just said, you knew that day was coming, so you were somewhat prepared that my husband's going to leave me. My wife's going to leave me.
Well, how can you be prepared for that? You can't really be prepared for that. Is what I'm saying. Some things you just cannot be prepared for to go through emotionally. It's going to do it. Just because you know something coming, don't mean you can prepare for it. Is what I'm saying. Because that's you can't be
Okay,
prepared for that.
okay, and I understand what you're saying, but I'm also saying it also depends upon the person. My husband said to me that we're not getting along. This marriage isn't working. I think that we should get divorced or whatever. And I see
Knock on wood.
that this is going. This relationship just isn't working. Then all of a sudden he came to me and he had divorce papers. Would I be shocked? No, because he told me. And plus, you kind of see the writing on the wall. Okay, Sheila, let's put it like this. I can only speak for myself. I believe that how you process things. So people process things differently. For me, if you're telling me something, you could be lying to me, yes. But if you're telling me this, I'm gonna err on the side of, well, Jill told
Caution,
this,
right.
Jill told me this. So there's that possibility. And if you don't do it, then I'll be pleasantly surprised or whatever. But for me, when people tell me things, I'm gonna take them seriously.
Well, I mean, sometimes you will, and sometimes you won't. I know people who that talk stuff all the time. You know that one person that's talking about they're gonna leave their job all the time, and they be there every single Monday, still complaining. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. It depends on the situation. Like you said, it does depend on the situation. But overall, that change. I'm just speaking to the change. I ain't talking about nothing else besides that. It's hard whether you're going through it and you expect it or not. Sometimes it's easier when you're not expecting it, but but I don't like anticipation. So I like fair warning. At still the same time, I'll just quit the job just the thought that I know I could get fired sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Just because I don't want to be in that
No,
that
I
that
mean,
that limbo state.
right, and I understand it. I'm just saying that people process things differently. What one person will react one way, another person will react another way. And I'm going to go on to Crazy Lady because you put some things in here about your father and Scott. Plus, I know you want to reply to a few things that Jill was saying. Crazy Lady, are you there?
Sorry, I was multitasking.
Okay.
Yeah, like Scott. I mean, we've talked like since my dad died, obviously. Scott, he said he think he would been way more prepared if Dad told him when Dad told me 2 years beforehand, rather than 4 months. You know, uh, did it change things? Oh yeah, it changed things dramatically for Scott. So I mean, but for the most part, humans really don't like change because it's out of their comfort zone. Um, as for the people living across the street, I don't know. See, I always felt like we were those weird neighbors that moved into people's. But like, if anybody ever moved in new into our neighborhood, my dad, told us, "Hey, go see if they got any kids. If they got kids, go find out where they're from." And we were always encouraged to embrace other cultures and find out new things because we're all human. You know, expose them to our culture. That would say, "Hey, expose them to your world, and they'll expose you to theirs."
Mm-hmm.
And between the two of them, you guys will come up with a whole new world all by yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Crazy Lady, then welcome, David. I'll pass you the mic in a moment. So, Crazy Lady, let me ask this: do you think that when people are dying, that say you have a family member who's dying of cancer and they're in the hospital or they're not, or whatever ailment they have, but they are dying, you have the people who are prepared for it, and then you have the people who you all found out at the same time. Again, how you process it. Some people are prepared for it, so when it happens, they're prepared. Other people, you all found out the same time, they're still shocked. So isn't it how you process things?
Yeah, it is. It is how you process things. Um, and then a lot of times, like you think you'll process something one way, but when it like happens, it totally doesn't go down the way that you thought it would. You'd process something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
it, you know, yeah.
All right. David, welcome.
Hi, what's going on?
Nothing much, just having a little chit chat here.
Yeah, I've been listening in. I think that as far as what you were just talking about, um, I don't think you process because the reason I say that is because from the initial time that my wife was told that she had a rare form of lupus in London and was only given 2 years to live, that's the initial shock that this person that you think is forever will be no more after 2 years. So now the musician and the composer has now to provide the same lifestyle for her, plus medical care, but I have to do it not in Europe, but in Memphis, Tennessee. Well, jazz musicians and jazz composers don't get along with blues musicians at all. You see, so Memphis is on the Chitlin Trail, so to speak. So now I have to figure out how am I going to do this going from Memphis to New Orleans. And it worked for 6 months, maybe. But then as she got sicker, my circle of finance, then opportunities became smaller. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't fall. I did it, thankfully, by a friend of mine, a friend of hers getting thrown out of her apartment and living with us. So that meant that I could go to LA and New York and Detroit because now I got someone to watch her. But through all of that, the back and forth to the hospital, all the rest of this. See, you don't process the end because you're too busy living the reality right now. But it was that Christmas Eve in 2001 when she drew her last breath. Then here comes another reality. See, I could have processed it, but I didn't think about processing it because I was too busy from day to day. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So that if I didn't have time to sit and think, well, what is this life going to be like without her?
But
Because I was too busy trying to make her as comfortable as possible.
but let me ask this. But would you say that every situation is different?
Of course.
Okay, so people may have been ready for the end. They could have been mentally preparing themselves for the end while they're still trying to live in the present of what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But and that's going to depend on their lifestyle. If they are at the office or whatever, and you're going back and forth. In other words, you have this structured lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, you have time to mentally prepare and all the rest of this stuff and think about it. But if you live the life of a musician, it's life on the fly. One night, Detroit, one night only. And it's one band. Now, okay, next stop, LA. Well, here's another set of music, here's another band, or here's another artist you playing with. Well, you're just filling in. Well, next stop, New York. You see what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
it's that constant moving, that unstructured thing that kind of forces you not to actually process and prepare for that end.
Okay. All right. Okay. Understood.
But what you're saying is absolutely right. Yeah, if you have a structured lifestyle, then yeah, you have time to sit and think and prepare for that end. But if you don't, it's just one phase right after another.
Okay. All right. That is fair. That's another way to think of it. So I'm gonna go to Crucible. We haven't heard from him in a while. So you've been listening to this, looking at the chat. Um, you want to add anything? And David, I'm going to mute you for a bit. Crucible, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think change is one of those interesting words that we tend to like in theory, but in practice, we have a whole different relationship with it. Change is really one of those things that other people should do. If we can figure out a way to change the situation without us having to change it, then that's going to be our first choice. But as somebody mentioned it in the chat, or maybe somebody was on the panel, I forget. But ironically, when change is forced on us, sometimes it turns out to be one of the best things that ever happened to us. Yet, when the next opportunity to change, and granted that the topic will be different, it will be in a different area of your life. It's not always going to be the same thing. When we go to try to make another change, whatever it is, we resist it all over again, and we fail to recall the positive things that came out of the last change we had to do, as hard as it might have been. We somehow get a flawed memory, and we only remember how difficult change is. We don't remember always how positive the outcome was. So we don't seem to learn in a positive way the benefits of change. It has to be forced on us time after time after time, even though ultimately it turns out to be a good thing. I've tried to be a little bit more embracing of change. It's not an easy thing. As I've gotten older, I've tried to say, okay, maybe you need to look at things a little bit differently. And I have, and it has been beneficial. So I've tried to learn from the positive things that have come from change, but I still find myself falling right back into the same thing. Is there another way to go about this that doesn't inconvenience me to the extent that actual change will? So I think our first choice is always going to be to put it off on somebody else to make the change, but ultimately it rests with us.
Okay, so Crucible, do you think that no matter what the change is, be it laws, death, a new relationship, a new house, new neighbors, whatever, that a lot of change that we resent, or not, I don't even say want to resent, a lot of change that we don't like or we fear is out of fear?
No question about it. Everything is, I shouldn't say everything, but I'd say 90 some percent of what prevents us from making change is the fear. And that's where the irony comes in. Once we've overcome that fear and made the change, and it wasn't as bad as we thought, we still face that same tall wall the next time we have to make a change. So I think it's always out of fear. Why go to something you don't know when you're already enjoying something that you do know? Like I said, it's forced upon us. We go down that same path as long as we can. And until reality smacks us in the head and we realize we can't go any farther this way, that's when we make the change. Very few people have the discipline or the willpower to initiate it on their own. Usually it's an event driven kind of a thing. And we all are resistant to it because we are afraid of what we don't know.
So do you think that well, okay, you've answered my question. I won't ask the next one. Okay, Chill.
Yeah, I'm here. So yeah, so basically, in reference to, I think David had a point that I wanted to make, but I didn't want to go there because actually it was such a that might have been too personal. But he explained it like I really wanted to kind of touch on it. Um, as far as in some reference to somebody passing away, and my condolences completely. Uh, I like to see your music too, bro. I like to see where you play, man. I got to look you up. Yeah, give me some Instagrams or Facebooks or something. But for the most part, that's what I meant by it's hard. You can't be ready for certain things. You just can't be ready for it. No matter what you think coming, it hits you, it hits you. You know what I'm saying? If you're out on the street, like it was funny you said that with the houses because that actually was a person that I know. I've known for 2 years that this lady was about to not sell a house, move into the house that they're residing in now, because it's a two-family home, and I think she wants to gut it and make it a one or whatever. She wants to move back in her house because she wants to retire and give the big house to like her family or something. And so she's gonna move. She's gonna consolidate, and this person knew for her tenant for 2 years knew. And the person upstairs I know very well. They called me and they're talking about how sad they was for the guy. And I'm like, well, he kind of knew, like you said. But at the end of the day, when he gets put out and gets evicted, when whether he gets prepared or not, I don't think he thought it was coming. So I don't know if that's good or bad, regardless of whether you know it's coming, especially when you don't prepare, especially when you know it's coming, you still just like you fight it like with the hope, you fight it with hope and prayer, And then he's like, oh, let's get to now now he's in the streets. Now what you gonna do? You should have hoped and prayed you got up and got a job 2 years ago and saved the money, but he didn't.
And
So
chill,
I don't know. I
and
just think
that's
it's rough. I just think it's rough, regardless.
and that's what I'm talking about. If you know something's coming, if something is being, especially if you are told, if you're told that this is going to happen, you may not want to believe it. You may think whatever, but you are told, I am going to sell my house. I'm moving back in. Blah 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 blah. I'm doing it on this day, and you're talking a 2-year advance notice, and you don't do anything. Come on, can I feel sorry for
This the
somebody like
part.
that? No.
And this the part though, like this man is already behind on rent, and so he's fighting it. Like you already like 4 months behind on rent, so she let him save up another 2 months. So you're supposed to have like 6 months of rent. I know it's neither here nor there, but this is an unbelievable situation. I was like, man, and he got his daughter living with him, like, but that has a baby. Like, man, what are you doing? You too grown for this.
Well, again, if you're told, if somebody tells me something, I'm going to err on the side of this is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that.
I'm going to believe it and so David. You want to add anything else? Here, let me unmute you. Okay, you want to add anything else, David?
Well, Chill, thanks for the condolences. Yeah, there's a link on my podcast webpage about the newsletter, the blog, all the rest of this. So you can pretty much find most of that stuff there. Um, and then plus the books and stuff that's on Amazon, you can find it. Um, it's it's all about how you handle change, and change is going to come in one or two ways. It's either going to come fast or it's going to come slow. But now here's your perspective of, you can see anything before it gets to you, but his your perspective is, if you're going to believe that this is going to happen, or like Chill said, what are you what are you doing? Praying for hope? You already know this is going to happen. Or so why would you not prepare yourself? But then there's that sudden thing too, because like I said, in the back of my mind, yeah, I knew she was dying, but you couldn't tell that by the way she lived. But it's this thing when that event happens, that's that void where there's no air, nothing, that emptiness. You're never going to be able to prepare for that event. And it doesn't matter. It could be someone's wife, it could be just anything. It's when the event, his the dynamics of the event itself that throws you off balance. It doesn't have to be the death of someone. It could just be a sudden change. You owe the IRS.
But okay, but let's talk about the. Let's see. Did he get cut off?
Sound like it did it.
Yeah, sound like.
He's still there. He's still in the green.
Are you in? Are you here, David? Did you get a phone call? Okay, he just muted himself.
He probably did get a phone call.
Okay, so I want to bring up something David just said. You owe the IRS. That's not sudden. That's something that you've known that you've owed the IRS for whatever. So you shouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden they're garnishing your wages or whatever they do, or coming to sell your stuff. You knew that you owed them. If you're behind in your mortgage or your rent. So Chill, to what you're saying, so if you're getting evicted or you get that foreclosure notice, whatever, the surprise may come that you personally were not paying attention and did not take this seriously, so you are surprised. But you knew. And again, I don't believe that change is overnight. There are some things where you wake up, in the morning, and your mother and father have moved the furniture. The sofa's now sitting up against the wall instead of over, by the window. That's overnight. But for most things in life, I truly believe this. We have a heads up of some kind. And I still going to use the word process. How we process it is on us. If we don't pay attention to it, if we choose to ignore it, if we choose to do this or whatever, I just think that we all have a heads up of things that are going to happen. And when they do, we can get upset. I find a lot of people are they get upset, but they shouldn't be surprised. That's my saying. And then when it comes to a lot of change, a lot of people don't want change because out of fear of losing their job, fear of a new law, fear of someone in political office, fear of your teacher, fear of whatever, fear of your mom and dad getting remarried. What is my stepmom or stepdad going to be about? Just anything. So having said that, I'm going to start to shut it down. So Crucible, any last words?
Yeah, I think this was a really good topic. I think, change should not be viewed as a sinister thing that it is. We tend to like where we are, it's our comfort zone, but I don't think there's anything wrong with being forced to make a change. And even though, in what David said, and chill, even if you know a change is coming, you still have to go through it. So preparation is certainly part of it, but it's a slog. Life is a slog, and we're duty bound, I guess, through no other choice but survival to make changes, as hard as it is. But in the end, I think, left to our own devices, we would prefer to keep the status quo. But life has a way of smacking us and telling us, no, don't stick with the status quo. There are better things coming, and we have to be dragged into it. But as long as we go, I think that's all that matters. So anyway, it was a great topic, fascinating subject. I love the topic of change. It can mean so many things to different people.
Yes, it can. And Crucible Crazy Lady says, I was going to disagree with Crucible, but then I thought for a sec, and darn, it's a valid argument. And let me catch up on these. Chill, I am coming to you. And she says, and your fairy godmother isn't going to float down and go poof. Dad used to say there are always reasons for the way things are. There are. Juju says we all have the ability to be in tune as to what is going to happen. True. Crazy says if you're not intelligent enough to see or acknowledge that, well, good luck and let me know how that works out for you. Good point. So, Chill, any last words of wisdom you would like to say?
Yeah, real quick. Like one of the most famous quarterbacks in the NFL was Peyton Manning, right? And he just lauded for like his big thing was preparation. Like before the snap, he could read the snap and know what you're doing before it hand. But the thing is that Baltimore had one of the greatest defenses ever. Ray Lewis, they would not disguise. They would not. They didn't let him get prepared. They gave him something he didn't know after the ball was snapped, and when that he was bad at adapting. And so that's why they were so good against him because they didn't tip their hand. And so my thing is in life in general, of course you're going to try to get prepared, but how do you adapt when you're actually going? Who are you? That person you are while you're going through that change or that whether it's good or bad. Can you adapt and who do you become? That's very important to me because that's one of the keys to life. When things are going bad, who can you maintain that your morality or whatever whoever you are profess to be, and maybe if you get rich, can you still stay humble? You know what I mean? Something good happens. So whatever the case may be, that's living. So I don't think it's a bad thing. That's living. And sometimes we need to be. I mean, I feel like when we stop living, that's when you obviously the opposite is dying. So I will always have anybody. I would always employ anybody to always be able to be ready to adapt to change, and whether you're ready for it or not, whether it's comfortable or not, just learn how to face up and it's time to go. Let's go. Let's adapt.
Okay. And Mr. B, welcome. And I would like to share something with you guys today. On my way home, I was changing freeways, and I was on how you are merging onto another freeway, and you have that like circle you go around. Well, it was kind of backed up, and I was like, okay, is there an accident? Whatever. But then I saw there was this guy who had his car was on the side of the road, but not really. He was still kind of blocking the lane, but not really. So when he kept pointing to his car, and I saw that he was trying to get people to pass to pull over. So I'm coming up to him, and every car kept passing him, and I'm coming up to him, and he's like, he's and I start to slow down. He's looking at me. He goes, "I need help. I need help. Whatever." I'm like, "Do I stop? Do I not stop? Do I not stop?" I pull over, and I'm saying to myself, "Okay, I might get killed. I might get shot." But maybe not. I'm trying to size this guy up, whatever. So I get out the car, have my phone with me, locking my doors, whatever. And he says, "Thank you. I have been here for over an hour. No one would stop. I want to call my dad. He owns a mechanic shop, and he has a tow truck. All I want to do is call my dad to pick me up." I'm like, "Okay, do I give him my phone? Is he going to steal my phone?" So I'm still thinking about this. I give him my phone. He calls his father, and he goes, "Thank you so much." And I said, "Are you going to be okay?" Then I look and I see he has two little kids, kids in the car and whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, I got to get my car off the side of the road, whatever." So I said, "Well, you should probably leave it here until your father comes. Everyone else can pass by, whatever." So I'm standing there and I'm talking to him, and he was just saying, so many people just passing me by and they wouldn't stop, they wouldn't stop, they wouldn't stop. So while I'm talking to him, the father shows up, and he said, "My father's going to be right here. He's not far." And his father gets out of the car. He's yelling at him, "I told you to have your what do you call it, your adapter with you so you can charge your phone," and blah 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 blah. And the father's like, "Thank you so much for helping my son. Thank you so much for helping my son. That man gave me $500.
Holy moly.
He gave me $500 cash. And he says, "This is for helping my son. Everyone else just left him here, but you made the choice to stop." And what made me stop was I kept looking at him, because I kept saying to myself, what if it was me? What if it was my husband? What if it was my son? Whatever. And I kept thinking, am I going to get shot? Am I? I mean, this is like, probably an hour and a half before the show. And I'm thinking, how long is this going to take? Am I going to be late? Da 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 da. So yeah, he gave me $500 cash, and I was like, and of course I did say, "I'm sorry, I can't accept this." He goes, "No, he was adamant. You helped my son." And he goes, "Most people wouldn't." And I knew what he meant, because his son was Iranian, Middle Eastern, whatever. And I wasn't looking at that. I was mainly like, I don't care if he was black, white, purple, brown. Am I going to get my car stolen? Am I going to die? But at the same time, I saw that he needed help. And he said that he had been out there for over an hour, and his phone died, whatever. So yeah. And then I saw that he had two little kids in the car. So yes, Crucible, I am $500 richer today.
That's awesome. That's an
It
awesome
sounds
story.
like it was well earned.
So just, and also just to say that, yeah, fear, whatever. I was fearful, whatever, but you just never know. You can't judge people the way they look. You just can't, because you never know, because that good Samaritan could be coming right around the bend in this case. So, but I said, "Thank you," whatever. His father started hooking up his car. His son stopped the traffic so I can, go and get out, whatever. And that was it.
You know what? I think more times than not, that will happen. 9 times out of 10, that's going to end up like that. I mean, you do have, and our problem is that we watch too much TV. We get like the 1% of the 1%, which can be 1,000 million, stories. But like we get on TV and we can watch the news, and everything's negative. You know what I'm saying? So you don't get those positive stories, so you're apprehensive. That's probably the craziest thing, is that you were, because of the negativity in the world. And not to say it never happens, but more than likely that's not going to happen. It's just that's just crazy. We got to think about that stuff nowadays because stuff is happening. But like, man, we can't even help people out no more because we worried about. You can't be mad at other people for not helping because you got to understand their situation too. They don't know if you're crazy or not, but still, like, man, that's crazy that we even got to think like that.
Yeah, it
Like, that's
is.
just crazy.
It
Yeah.
is. And Brina said that was so nice, solid. You're better than me. I'd be shook. Oh, that was so nice. Juju says there are good people in this world. You are one of them. I'm one of them sometimes, Juju. David says one should be so lucky. Good for you. Blessings.
Well, can I borrow this
That
damn?
was a
Can I borrow
conversation.
$5?
You know what?
Hold on, now
You know
listen. Hey,
what?
everybody. Hey,
Chill.
hold on, everybody. Hold on, everybody. You just heard her brag about how she was five hundred
I did
dollars
not
richer.
brag. I did not brag. I was not
Nah,
bragging.
nah. I
But
felt like you
but
was
I
like, I
can
got
honestly
$500. You don't.
I can honestly say this. That money is all of it is going to be deposited
Cash app
into my
into my.
son's account. I don't do
Oh
cash.
my
I don't do
gosh.
I
Here you
don't do
go. Here
the
you
cash
go.
app.
Ain't nobody think about their kids right now.
I'm thinking about
Damn.
my kid. I can't think about my kid. Oh Lord. So and Brina, also I passed your message on to Reagan. She said thank you so much, and she's going to try to pop on a show, and she's actually going to do a show with me. So, but I
Nice.
did pass it on, and she said thank you. I cut and pasted whatever, so she got the entire message, and she was extremely grateful, and she sent me a message like thank you, thank you, thank you. So that goes to you, Brina. Crazy lady.
I was gonna say that. No, no, Will. Uh, that money falls in the category of mad money. Because it's like mad money doesn't exist. And I even know all her mad money's going into the comic thing with her son.
Yep.
So
Yep. I take care of my kid. Sorry, Chili. Chili
well,
Willy. I
Them
take
kids
care of
don't
my
come
she
chill.
gave
before
you
me.
$5, but
Them
she
kids
don't
don't
know
come before
nothing.
me now.
And then
Now
he
these kids
then
have
he
been.
has the nerve. Chill has the nerve to put his cash app in there. I mean, seriously, this is not what is that app? Crazy lady. This is not come on, what's the app that everybody go this is
TikTok.
not no GoFundMe. This is not a
Oh,
GoFundMe
GoFundMe.
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah. Just
What?
go ahead.
You please, you know
You
what,
know.
chill. You
Good night, good night, hookers and booze. Come on now,
see,
donate. Y'all
We
can
should
all
give
donate to the
that.
cause.
crazy lady, you need to give Chile and you know what? I think that would
$5 from
be
all y'all. Think about
a good
how
show.
much my
Crazy lady,
funds
would
had.
you consider doing a tarot? I always pronounce it incorrect. A tarot reading on a show. Like,
Yeah.
would you have to see people, or could they?
No,
Could
no, I can do it. I can do it without seeing you.
okay. So can you do it Thursday? Because I was trying to think of. I have some fun topics, but I wasn't
On
sure.
you,
That's
So
what she
like
can
said.
am
we?
I giving you the reading?
Can we? No, I don't. I don't want my reading.
Oh,
Mm-mm,
oh.
mm-mm.
I mean, because I do sometimes I
Put
do
your
do
hand
shows
out.
that I guess
I don't. I don't. I put it
I'll
like this.
include
If I do a reading, I want it in
in
private
private.
because you may say something that
I would do that for you though
okay, all right. But
if you want one.
Thursday, would you want to do it on Thursday?
Yeah,
Okay, so everyone, our Thursday fun will be a tarot reading
You could do it.
from the crazy lady, and
You could
if you
do
come
it.
in, I'll do some one card or two part. They're called like I can pull cards for like anybody like right there in the chat. I just have to like focus on them, and then they'll fall out.
okay,
Does
well,
it
Um,
like
bring
the
matter
more
what you
well.
got
the
on?
more deep ones, I like to talk to the people a little bit, and you know, I never know what they're gonna get.
Okay, so Brina is saying yay, Tarot
Yay!
Thursday. So Brina, then you have to be one of the people who
Tarot
volunteer.
Tuesday. That
Now,
rhyme better.
Yeah, Tarot
Thursday.
Tuesday. That used to be
Thursday.
my thing was Tarot Tuesdays.
So would you be willing and look at me, putting Brina on the spot when I'm saying no, I'm not going to do it. But oh boy,
Do you
but
got what you gotta get prepared for a tarot reading? Like you gotta you gotta have like
I
clothes
don't
on.
No,
I
Cause
before the
like I got
no
show. Yeah,
I
not
sometimes I
before I
be
pull
oiled
cards.
up
Before
out
the
the
show.
shower.
Before the show, I do clear the air. I just like I clear the air, and then
Okay.
I was like,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So then
Yeah.
Thursday
I don't
is
think I
going
don't
to
think
be
anyone
our
wants to listen to the big singing bowl. It gets really loud.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Thursday will be Tarot Thursday. So anybody who wants to volunteer, so you said what, two people, crazy lady? You said two?
well, I mean, I sometimes like I'll see someone and then like they'll get like a 5 card reading sometimes.
All right. So I mean, so
And
should
then
we?
sometimes, like I'll start pulling cards for someone and then they only get 3 cards. And it's like, okay, this is what they say.
Okay. So I'm asking, are we limiting it to two, or I'm
No,
asking you? Okay. All
no,
right.
I'll just, I'll show up and
All right. Well, then, guys, that is what we are going to do Thursday. So that's going to be our Thursday fun. So, other than that, guys, thank you all for coming. Crucible, Chill, Crazy Lady, David, and who am I else? Who am I missing? Who else was up here on the? Is that it? Who was up on the mic? But anyway, you guys, thank you for taking the mic, and everyone, as always, thank you for popping in. Homestead, Handyman, Juju, David Hoff. Blunt Ninja was here, Frankie, Minnesota, Power Girl, Rena, as always. Thank you very much, Alpha Mike. All of you guys who popped in, I appreciate it so, so much. And Bobby. So, on that note, guys, and Mama Bear Tracy, I'm going to take you out with something a little different. This is a little shorter today. This is called, what is this called?
Peace out, y'all.
This is called Bye Chill. This is called Sunrise Chill Out. Sunrise Chill Out. So, guys, thank you. Go where the wind takes you, and wherever you are in the world, enjoy the rest of your day and evening. Bye.
Sound like me in the morning. Like this.
happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween to you too, guys.
And yes, I'm going down to the festival dressed up as Among Us.
Each. Bye, Frankie.
Okay, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you